It's like whenever you're dating, it's like looks versus personality.
For example, if I play Red Dead Redemption 2 or Star Wars Battlefront 2, you start going... You will get that version on Series X for free. You will not have to buy the Series X version. Hello there. Welcome to Polygon House, the brand new podcast. We hope you're all safe and well. I'm Charlie. I'm with Aram and Lino. So this is our nerdy section of the podcast where we talk about comic book related media and video games. Today we are talking about trending topic at the moment. We thought we'd do this after Sony's PlayStation 5 reveal event last week. We're going to be talking about PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X today. I want to start talking... But actually, let's start like this. Which, right now, before we've had a discussion about it, which console would you say you're more excited for?
Definitely PS5, because they're playing to their strengths a lot more. They have a lot more exclusives than Xbox Series X, so I'm a lot more excited for PS5.
Yeah, and Lino?
Same with me. Definitely PS5. Although I'm quite intrigued by if the Xbox Series X has anything interesting to offer.
Yeah. Well, the Xbox. We'll get into this in a bit, but the Xbox Series X does have a couple of unique features that the PS5 doesn't seem to have. But we will get onto that later.
Well, yeah. For one, it looks like a fridge, so that's.
Actually, I give credit to this. At the start of the Xbox Series X reveal event, one of the devs working on it, he had this, one of the Series X models sort of photoshopped in the back, like as a big fridge. He kind of made it look like a fridge, so they kind of, it's good to know they've got good humour about the design.
Do you know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you've heard of the Atari 200, but that kind of functioned as, because it had like a big thing where you could open it up and you could put a drink there, so it just reminded me of that.
Well, if they make an Xbox Series XXL, then maybe it will be a fridge. Who knows? It might be big enough you can store anything in there. So anyway, well, let's get the ball rolling. I want to talk a little bit about a bit of the comparison of their sort of launch events, reveal events. Now, Microsoft did show off the Xbox Series X, I think, towards the end of last year. But their sort of proper event was last month in May, and then we had Sony's one, which was last week. I think we're pretty unanimous, I think most people will be in general, that the PlayStation 5 event was much better than the Xbox One. The Xbox One was... it really didn't show that much, there wasn't that much to get excited from. They had no real exclusives to show. I could be wrong, maybe a couple of them were. Most of them I've checked that they weren't. And they kept talking about, we're going to premiere this, some gameplay, and it's going to be, but all we actually saw was just maybe little snippets. And it was mostly cinematic trailers, really, which, is cool to see new stuff get announced. But there just wasn't that much from Xbox. Most of the games didn't get me that hype. There was a couple, but yeah.
Just feel sad about Xbox. They don't use their exclusives to the degree they should. So, for example, they have ownership of Rare, if you know who they are. They should use a lot more Rare properties in their launches. So, games like Killer Instinct, Banjo-Kazooie, just classic video game franchise that they could reboot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was also, obviously there is Halo Infinite coming out. Halo's always been their big console seller, but they didn't show any new gameplay from that. We haven't seen any gameplay of the new Halo game. There is a bit of a caveat. They have said we're going to see proper gameplay in July, apparently. But then they, then they said we're seeing gameplay at this, this event in May, and we didn't. So, but I'm sure we will see some more. But the thing with Xbox, I just feel like they only really have two console sellers, and one of them took a bit of a beating after the last century. So they've only really got Halo and Gears of War. And Halo took a bit of a, not bashing, but kind of the reputation's not quite as strong after Halo 5 wasn't, was a bit controversial. I played it. I did actually enjoy it, but I played the Halo game slightly out of order, so I wouldn't mind going back again. But I know that wasn't everyone's favourite.
As I said, what they should have done is they should have used more of their Rare properties to make them console sellers. They could release like a new Perfect Dark game, for example. they could also try and create a new, like Fortnite, a massive kind of battle royale game. They should make a game like that, because Xbox's unique selling point has been their online play. That's what they have going for them.
Yeah.
So if they created a Fortnite type game, they would sell units. They would push consoles.
That's what's popular nowadays, yeah.
With their release events, basically, I definitely think, obviously both consoles have very different exclusive things. I do think Xbox could have used Halo a lot more to their advantage, because so many people love that game. I've played, I can't exactly remember which one I played, but no, I've played it. It's a brilliant game. It's very, very unique to lots of other sort of similar ones. But when PS5 comes out with this amazing trailer for the Unreal Engine gameplay, where they just highlighted how good the graphics were, basically.
Yeah. I think Xbox games will be using Unreal Engine 5 as well. But I think it was sort of marketed more for, I think.
Yeah, it just seems like from the face value of it, you see that it's sort of exclusive to them, and they're acting as if it's theirs, which is going to get more people to buy it, basically. I'm baffled at how people make things like that. The graphics, the quality, the fact that it's all made up with billions of like mini triangles of color or something like that on the computer.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing, like how they do the sunlight. It worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
And that's definitely going to entice people.
Yeah, I think Unreal Engine 5 is really going to kick things up a notch. And both consoles are getting ray tracing as well. I don't know a lot about... We're not going to get too much into the technical, specifications. We're not experts. We're just going to cover the surface. But ray tracing, I think, is something to do with lighting. And that apparently makes a massive difference. So hopefully we're going to see that well exploited. But just on this Xbox event, it was bizarre because they only showed they barely showed any gameplay. Most of the games they showed weren't exclusives. There was weird bits, like they kept cutting the flow of it, where they had some of the Xbox developers talking like, oh yeah, we hope you guys really found that really cool and exciting, and they just shared these really generic details. There was this lady that came out and said, oh, we're proud to announce Microsoft is partnering with every single major publisher, in the world. But then they kind of always have partnered with all the major ones. I don't know what the big deal with that was. They always have had games. Maybe I'm sure there's probably a few more, but then it's like, well, yeah, but that's not going to be the Sony publishers, because they've got the advantage of that. And yeah, just a lot of the games I just wasn't interested in. Like, there was a game called Scorn that they showed off, for example.
Oh, that was weird. It was basically the film Alien on steroids, and there's actually a lot of the trailers for some of the Xbox games. Like, there's so many that are actually quite like dark games. There's one called Returnal. There's obviously Scorn we had, and there's a couple others.
Yeah, and there was one for the Xbox one they showed called Vampire Bloodlines, I think it's called. I think they had a previous game that apparently was quite good, but the trailer for that had a weird tone to it. But back to Scorn, I mean, that looks like kind of an interesting concept, but it was like no game. I watched Angry Joe's sort of reaction to it all, and he made the point. He found out more about the game from a wiki than he did from the trailer. The trailer tells you nothing. I mean, I wouldn't be playing it. I'm too scared to play games like that, so I'm not playing a game like that. But he found out more from the wiki. It was so uninformative, the event. It was balmy.
That reminds me of the time you played Alien Isolation once, round at mine, and you got absolutely terrified by it.
Oh yeah, I was rubbish at that.
I was about to say, Xbox have always marketed themselves off quote-unquote edgy titles. They've always tried to be more mature, so let's say you have a scale. You have Nintendo, who they're family-friendly. Then you have PlayStation, who are in the middle, who have their family-friendly games, and they have their edgy dark games. But then you have Microsoft, Xbox, who just have dark games, really. So kind of like Nintendo and Xbox are two ends, but PlayStation's right in the middle of them.
Yeah, PlayStation has the better variety of games, and especially in the event, I would just want to make there wasn't much variety of genres. There was maybe less than 10 games shown. It might have been 10, it might have been a bit more, but it didn't seem like many games shown. They were all sort of slightly horror based. The only new IP that interested me was one called The Medium, But then again, we saw they showed 30 seconds of gameplay. But that looked like an interesting concept. I thought, okay, sort of a psychological aspect to it, sort of changing worlds. I thought, okay, that looks interesting. But there was some of the trailers that had really generic wording. I don't know what you thought about. There was this game they showed off. I can't remember. It's sort of like Second Extinction, where they were fighting these dinosaurs, and it was just really generic wording. There was Dirt 5, just generic. Even Assassin's Creed for me. I know there's loyal Assassin's Creed fan. The for what I've seen from that hasn't really blown me away so far. I'm not a big Assassin's Creed fan though, but that was a bit generic, and I got a bit peed off. I mean, they said throughout the whole of it they were saying, "Stay tuned for the world premiere of Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay." They showed 30 seconds, bits of snippets chunked together. And then they just talked to this creative director on it who gave this, really generic, bland details that told you nothing. It was like, oh, we want to make you feel like a Viking. You're going to go on these great epic battles. Yeah, so does every other game tell you that. What's unique about this? It's just, and they just wasted time. It was so much waffle in this where they just didn't, it was just developers talking, not being interesting. Talk and show the game. That's more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could have showed a lot more. I think, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's an intention behind being quite secretive and not. Well, it might not even be secrecy. It might just be we're not ready to show you this stuff yet, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we know that they've got. So both consoles actually have a few games that are going to be in common. So you've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Cyberpunk 2077 with Keanu Reeves. That's
going to be a good game. That
they've got Resident Evil 8 Village, which actually looks like quite an interesting horror game. I've seen.
Yeah, I'm not a Resident Evil fan, but even that trailer got me interested. Actually, I thought that was a good trailer.
And then you've got Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2. So you do have a few games in common. And I'm sure there'll be more to come.
And that's the problem with Xbox, because all their games they're relying on a third party. It seems like the only one they're going on is Halo, but even they didn't show that. And they didn't even show many details about what the console can do really that much. I mean, we do know the tech specs now, but they didn't really want to push that. It was just all these really boring, just people working, talking. It's just show us. It was boring to watch.
I was about to say that Sony and PlayStation will always be Xbox in terms of exclusives, because they don't just have their games like Infamous, with the in-house studios they have, like Naughty Dog and stuff. They also have titles such as Shonen Jump and just literally every single Japanese game.
They bought Naughty Dog, Insomniac. They've got.
May I make a point about the Japanese market? One, they have literally every single Japanese. Them and Nintendo have basically every Japanese title, and that's because Xbox in Japan is tiny. I've got a story about it. So I went to Japan. When I went to Japan, I went to Akihabara, which is the ultimate nerdy village. It's the ultimate anime village. And then I went to the biggest game store in Japan. And I went there, and guess how many shelves were dedicated to Xbox? 2. There are more shelves dedicated to DVDs about Japanese trains than there were to Xbox games.
It's just because PlayStation's so big there, and obviously Sony is a Japanese.
I mean, another game that did look cool from Xbox was I've never played it, but I actually quite like to play it. Is Yakuza Like a Dragon? That looked quite cool. But Yakuza's on Xbox, but it's on PlayStation as well. They're on both.
That really shocks me. Because Yakuza is a very, very Japanese game. It's probably the most Japanese game I can think of.
According to my knowledge, I think they've always been cross-platform. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think they've always been on.
I thought they were always PlayStation.
But the point is, again, it's like with Xbox. Yeah, okay, that was the one game they showed some solid gameplay from. I thought, okay, that looks cool, but I know I can get that on PlayStation. There's what's the USP of the Xbox that's going to make me want to pay so much money for it?
Yeah, I completely agree. And there was another sort of dark game that they were showing probably the most out of, which was Bright Memory Infinite. Both consoles were obviously going to be doing driving games, I imagine. I think driving games have come as far as they can. It's hard to make them any better, really. It's more just about it's more just like new cars and then maybe slightly improving the graphics. There's not a lot more you can do with it.
They did look. I have to say, they did look impressive though visually. Both with Dirt 5, they showed, and then Gran Turismo. Oh God, was it 7 or 8? I think it was 7. But yeah, I mean, it's how much further can they push these games?
May I go back to the point on unique selling point? Microsoft's unique selling point was originally their online play, Xbox Live. That's why I said they could do like a battle royale game. They could do a game that works, that's really good online, like a unique one. Like, let's say there's going to be Fortnite 2. They should try and negotiate something with Epic Games to make that exclusive to Xbox Series X.
Obviously, there's always the thought of, if they're being so exclusive, or if they're being quite quiet now, Xbox, they might release something out of this world later on. But if you want people to buy your console, now is the time. You do have Overwatch 2, which should be coming out sometime next year, hopefully. We've got our fingers crossed. And obviously that's going to hopefully be on both Xbox and PS5. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it will be
exclusive to one thing. So that's also going to bring a lot of more players.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even there. I mean, you're both right. Yeah, the Xbox has always had a better online Xbox Live, but so far they haven't really talked about how that's getting enhanced or improved at all. They're not capitalizing, just building on both of your points. They're not really capitalizing on sort of the current trends, or really what do the people actually really want? What are the type of games? So I think we'll go on to the PlayStation event now. So basically, the summary of the Xbox is definitely some interesting looking concepts for games, but where was the gameplay? Load of waffle. Thank God I was watching Angry Joe's commentary to it, because he was making that entertaining for me. On the other hand, the PS5 event last week, wow, that got me excited. I mean, all I need to say is Spider-Man Miles Morales. What a way to start that show. That was the perfect way to kick that off. Marvel Spider-Man was Sony's biggest selling sort of first-party title they've ever had. 13 million copies. So just to build off of that hype was the perfect way to kickstart that show. Obviously, I'm massive Spider-Man fan, so I was literally jumping up and down for joy. My God, did it look gorgeous from the minute and a half that we saw. What do you guys think?
The graphics were amazing, and it's a really cool, especially after we've had the film, it's just great to, that's a perfect way to go into a game. And I imagine, because it was so colourful, it's perfect for a video game. But no, we've got loads of, they've released loads of other trailers for some amazing looking games. You've got Resident Evil Village, you've got Sackboy, which looks weird but looks fun.
Oh yes, Sackboy's coming back.
You've got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. You've got Stray, which we assume is a game about a cat.
Yeah, they didn't show any gameplay for that, but I was definitely intrigued. I was like, okay, I want to see gameplay of that. And what they did is the thing about the event was, I'm pretty sure most of their games they showed. First off, they showed about 3 times more of the games than the Xbox reveal event showed. Most of them were exclusive. I think a few were going to be on both. But most of them were exclusive. I like they branded it really well. So now, before, I don't know if you noticed, before each trailer, if it wasn't exclusive, they'd have this logo for PlayStation Studios come up. And I thought that was a really clever little marketing strategy to sort of hype you up. It's like, PlayStation Studios, that's a sign of quality. And again, Xbox missed out on that. They have, of course, their game studios, but they don't market them like that. So I thought that was a really clever little marketing trick that they've done.
Again, with the exclusives, with the brilliant single-player games, PlayStation are actually using their USP of brilliant single-player experiences, and they're using their IPs, they're using Sackboy, for example, they're using Ratchet and Clank, games that people love.
Horizon 2, Forbidden West, because Horizon Zero Dawn, a game I haven't played, but I'd actually really like to play after seeing the trailer for Forbidden West. Really interesting concept there. Gameplay looks fun. Cool protagonist. We could talk about, just going back to Spider-Man quickly, I can't wait to see it on the PS5. New York in the snow. I think that's going to be awesome. Miles was a great little side character in the first game. They really built up his character, Peter being his mentor. So I can't wait to see Miles get his character fully fleshed out. Although I have to say, they did slightly cock up the sort of how they announced it, because initially it sounded like it was actually just an expansion to the base game. But then Insomniac came out and clarified, and they said, no, it is a standalone game in a similar vein to Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which is sort of like a side game to Uncharted 4, but like actually it's good. So I can't wait for that. So Horizon Forbidden West, I'm interested in that. Another one was Deathloop. I really liked it. Looked really stylish. I really like the combat of that. You know, the guns, and you're moving people. You're using your nice bit of combat story there. You know, sort of like you can't. These assassins are hunting each other, but you can't die. Hopefully, it's not style over substance. I'm hoping it's not that, but definitely a couple of interesting characters in that, and I like the visual style of it. I'm definitely intrigued to see more about that.
No, 100%. I was very intrigued by Spider-Man and those other games, but like with things like them using Ratchet and Clank and Sackboy, things like that, they appeal to like a much wider audience. Like, I've been a fan of Ratchet and Clank for a while. I played a few of their games. I played Ratchet and Clank G-Force. That was really good. It was quite hard actually in certain areas, and like I don't think we've had a Ratchet and Clank game for a while.
Yeah, I think we had one in 2016.
They revive things like that. It's been 4 years, which is just great, and they've appealed to such a wide audience.
Yeah,
and I think what would be good, we could definitely talk about kind of a backtrack is talking about the appearance of both the consoles.
Aaron.
I was about to say that it's really good for nostalgia heads as well. People who just love those nostalgic franchises that Sony are releasing more of those games.
Yeah, and I think that the great thing about the reveal event, because they showed solid gameplay for most of their games, and I thought, even though some of the games I thought, okay, I might not play those, I could tell for most of those games, okay, there's a solid audience for that game. There's an audience out there that's been sold by the trailer for, I'm going to get that as soon as it releases. With Xbox, because they showed such a lack of gameplay, I'm like, who's that game for? And even some of the concepts they showed, who's that? Who's that for? Really, a couple of them are for, okay, yeah, obviously people are going to, like Yakuza, Assassin's Creed game, obviously people are going to get those. But just the other new ones, it's like, well, if they're new IPs, we've got to see solid gameplay. And Sony clearly bided their time. They waited, said we're going to get ready and we're going to do the best job we can. But hopefully in July, Xbox are doing another event in July. Hopefully we're going to see more. So we won't go too much about the PlayStation games because we could talk about them all day. I'd love to talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales all day. But basically much better variety of games than Xbox is showing. But yeah, the appearance of the consoles, I'm personally a really big fan of the PS5 design. I actually think it's really cool. Because if you look at it, it actually looks a bit like a V, which is Roman numeral for 5. So I think it's really cool.
Do you know what it reminds me of? You know Cadillacs? You know how they have the fins and stuff?
Yes, that's true.
Reminds me of the Cadillac. I wonder if we're going to see a new generation of consoles where everyone tries to outfin each other to see who can create bigger fins.
Yeah, maybe.
So I definitely am a massive fan of the PS5 design. It looks just amazingly new. Like they're trying something different. I think this is the first time it's the first one to be advertised as vertical, basically.
Yes, I think it is. I think the PS2 you might have been able to do it landscape, but properly advertising it, yeah.
And it just looks awesome. I am a little bit concerned about the stand because it doesn't. For some reason, I'm getting a slight feeling that it's not that sturdy or something. And plus, I saw someone trying to sort of do a size comparison with like all of the other consoles, and I think they were saying that it's going to be the tallest, or if you put all the consoles on their side, it's going to be the tallest one. I do think it looks awesome. It looks a bit like a crown as well, and they're trying sort of a new look
they're being
with
innovative
colours,
with
sort
it.
of white, blue. However, I do also it did also intrigue me that both, because obviously both consoles they've been known to be horizontals, and this time they've both built up rather than across. I do actually think that the Xbox Series X looks quite minimalist, and they're sticking to their guns of Xbox. Literally, like, it's just a box with game stuff, and it actually looks a lot like sort of some alien ship that has just arrived from some place. I do think it's interesting. Obviously, a lot of people are going to get captivated by the grand matte white finish of the PS5, but I do think the Series X does look interesting, and at least they haven't just kept it horizontal and just not changed
Yeah, I like
much.
that they're both being a bit more innovative. I do actually like. I know a lot of people don't like the Series X line. I do quite like it actually. I think it's quite cool. At the top, you've got the holes and the green coming out.
It's simple.
Yeah,
It's very
it's
simple.
simple. I do quite like it. Yeah, I think it kind of takes the mick out. Xbox. It does actually look a bit like a box. My concern about it was, but now it's interesting you raised that point about the PS5 size. I was thinking, okay, it looks really tall for Series X, which looks visually quite cool, but where are you putting that sort of conveniently? What's the convenience of that? But it's interesting to say about the PS5. Actually, it actually is taller than it looks as well, apparently. So it might have the same problem as well.
It's going to be quite big, I think. But I think they did show some images of it being. You can put it on its side, and it still looks okay. So, like,
Yeah.
obviously, in pictures it looks awesome and everything, but think practically, who knows about how sturdy it's going to be, and if like how many people, because a lot of people put their consoles underneath their TV. I'm not sure about practicality, but it does.
Yeah,
look
I mean
awesome
the PS, I mean the Xbox. I mean, in terms of the like you said, the sturdiness. Maybe it looks a bit more easier to stand than the PS5 upright, but I guess we're going to be able to really judge that on when we actually get to see it a bit more in person. So I'd say design wise I probably do prefer the PS5, but I do actually like the Xbox Series X design.
What verdict will we say that Xbox Series X does better in? Because we've said PS5 has been better in almost every way, but is there any way Xbox Series X is better?
Well, this is the one thing that Xbox might be able to sell it on. This is the one little USP they're trying to go on. This is the smart delivery feature. Now, I don't know why. Maybe I was having a brain fart when researching this. I didn't want to understand this, but basically, smart delivery is a feature where when you buy... Well, first of all, they've said that all Xbox One games are going to be backwards compatible on the Xbox Series X. And they've said that for smart delivery is going to work where if an Xbox One game gets like an upgrade for Series X, so it gets boosted up to 4K or 60 frames per second, you will get that version on Series X for free. You will not have to buy the Series X version. You can play the Xbox One version and play with the Series X enhancements on the Series X, which is a very good feature. I think that deserves props. That is very pro-consumer. Also another feature doing is the quick resume feature, where if you're playing a game, so an Xbox One game, for example, on the Series X, or if you're playing it on the One originally, your progress will actually carry on when you put it on the Series X. You will not lose progress on either system, wherever you put it in your house. So that's good, and I think it's good that they've said that Xbox One games will be compatible with Series X, which is something that PlayStation has been not coy about, but they haven't been 100% clear. Because at first they sort of said all PS4 games will be backwards compatible with PS5. Then they sort of said no, most of them. Then it's like, oh no, is it going to be the top 100? So definitely, I think most PS4 games will be backwards compatible with the PS5, but they haven't made it clear if all the PS4 games will be. So I'm not quite. Sony will need to come out and explain that, because they may lose some buyers to the Xbox to that. The other feature that Microsoft are promoting is that I'll let you guys talk about. We'll talk about it all in one go in a minute. Is that they've said that they want Xbox Series X games to actually work on the Xbox One, so to go backwards, which is a cool feature. The slight caveat to that is, so that obviously all their first-party games developed by Microsoft, so all the games developed by Microsoft, they will support that. So all Xbox Series X games will work on the Xbox One. And they're saying that, well, all Xbox Series X games should be able to work on the One, but they also said, well, the other developers that are third-party, well, they'll need to buy into that. And I question how many are going to buy into that, because it almost gets to the point where it's like, hang on, if you're saying I can play Series X games, I can do this, I can do that with the Xbox One now, well, why should I then buy a Series X? So I question the business logic of third-party developers actually. And even in an interview, a Microsoft dev said, even with the smart delivery, he said, oh, well, they may choose to make certain games specifically optimized for Series X, and you can't get that on the One. So there are caveats to these features. So I don't know what you guys think about them.
I mean, it's a common trend with Xbox. They do like their backwards compatibility, don't they?
Yeah, which is good. Backwards compatibility, it is good.
And also, like, there's a bit of a random thought, but I wonder, because it's saying the next one is Series X. Who knows? It might be a new series of Xboxes or something. But I must say, Xbox do have a weird thing with names. They went from 360 to One, and now Series X. So the names do change a lot. So I do doubt that. But no, I think it's interesting the way that they've sort of slightly changed the backwards compatibility. It's now sort of forwards compatibility, but like kind of reverse, which is a bit weird. But yeah, I mean, it might work out. It might backfire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on board with the smart delivery and the quick resume features. I think that's great. It's just this total compatibility, really, that Series X can go on One. It's like, hang on, how many third-party developers are actually going to do that? Because any minute now, people are just going to go, people who aren't loyalists to Xboxes are going to say, well, I'll just stick with the One then, thanks. You know, all I'm getting with the Series X is just 4K and 60 frames per second, then I don't want to spend £500 for that. So I'm not sure that's going to work out as well as they intend it to.
Do you want to know about, the last generation of consoles? Do you want to know which console won on backwards compatibility? It's up for you to decide how well it did, but the Wii U, they actually won on that point, and we can all agree on how well that did.
Well, the Wii U was not exactly a great console, but no. So was it that is it with the all Wii games worked on the Wii U then? Or you tell us, Aram. I'm not quite sure about
it was
that.
like all Wii games worked on the Wii U, and at the time Xbox One and PS4 didn't really have backwards compatibility. So when I was like a little Nintendo fanboy, back in the day, I used to just defend them the Wii U on that one point that they were backwards compatible.
Actually, so in terms of, there's a bit of a failure of Xbox, but in terms of, I think, units sold, I think Xbox sold the least out of PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. So I think they sold more Nintendo Switches than Xbox Ones, which is it's very weird, because I'm surprised that, like, it's as if the Game Boy world has started to come back into the spotlight a bit. It's a bit odd how, like, Xbox One isn't that bad, and it's selling less than a new form of Game Boy. So it's a bit weird, and obviously PS4 dominated somehow.
Oh yeah, well they had more than triple the sales of Xbox One. I think it was something like over 140 million units.
It was 110. It was 110 million.
Oh, 110. Sorry, am I exaggerating? Sorry, yeah, 110. It might be the PS2 I'm thinking of, actually, that high.
That's a perfect segue onto my next point about how this console war is mirroring the last console wars we had. So, in this situation, PlayStation is like Nintendo. It's this huge giant in the industry. So, it started in 2001 for this one, and it started in the 80s for Nintendo, where they literally almost monopolized the industry for home video game consoles, where they were vastly outselling everyone. But then, Sega came with the Genesis, and Microsoft came with the Xbox 360, which both had unique selling points. So Microsoft had their online play, Sega Genesis had their speed, and they competed extremely well with PlayStation, Xbox, and Genesis competed extremely well with the Super Nintendo. But after that, Sega had the Saturn, and Xbox had the Xbox One. But I'm comparing the Genesis to the 360 and the original Xbox to the Sega Master System, because that was good, but Nintendo had a monopoly. But then now, Xbox Series X could be their version of the Dreamcast. It could be the one that crushes them. And originally, when the Wii U came out, Nintendo were going the way of Atari, just being completely and utterly destroyed. But I don't think that will ever happen to Nintendo, because Nintendo has too many exclusives. They have too much of a strong universe.
I think their IPs are too strong for that.
Way too strong. They probably have the strongest IPs of any.
I mean, the Wii U didn't harm them, but they've really redeemed themselves with the Switch. I mean, I haven't got a Switch, but yeah, great console. I can tell.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to do a quick aspect about both of the consoles. I think it's quite important about the controllers. that's going to be an interesting thing. So it seems that Xbox don't really like to change much of that from their Xbox One controller. I think all that they've added is maybe just slight sort of grip changes, and they've added some share button in the middle, and they've also changed the D-pad a little bit, which, I mean, it might be good because they didn't really need to change much.
No, it was a good controller.
It seems like, obviously, my main issue with Xbox One controllers is batteries. It's annoying that you have to keep buying batteries. I know that you can do rechargeable batteries, but then you have to buy an extra charging thing, and it's...
But then the PS4 DualShock 4, even though that was rechargeable, the charge time, actually, the time it held wasn't that great. So hopefully with the new controller they've got, and the new PlayStation 5 controller has very much, it kind of looks a bit like an Xbox controller, doesn't it? It's much wider to grip. Visually, it's kind of white, but it looks like it's got Xbox-like buttons. So Xbox has always had the better controller, in my opinion, than the DualShock. So it's now the DualSense, it's called, for PlayStation.
It's just changed. I think just PS5 have just been a bit more adventurous with changing the colours, and obviously it's going to be, you put them into a charge port and it works fine. And plus they've added, like, along with the console, they've got a new headset coming out.
The headset looked great, actually.
Which looks really clean and simple. They've got the console, the controller with the headset. Probably some other, like, in the future there's going to be some extra VR thing that goes along with it. So I do think PS5 are being a bit more adventurous. But, like, I think the reason why Xbox haven't changed much is because, their controller is very good and it handles well.
That's a perfect segue onto what I believe is a great point about controllers. I feel that the PS5's controller kind of shows that design really is the final evolution in building what makes a great controller.
I think PlayStation had to adapt, because I think the DualShock 4 was fine for PS4. It wasn't a bad controller, but it's much, it's firmer to control. The buttons are easier to push. So, and it looks like the sort of the vibrations you'll be able to get off that, I can't remember what they called it, but sort of like the way it's going to vibrate off surfaces and whatnot is going to feel much more immersive. Whether those headphones they showed off, because those headphones, the PS5, look great. I'd love for that to come with the console. Was that too good to be true, really, that? It'd be great if it does that, because the PS4 headset, well, it's not even a headset, it's one earpiece they give you. It was rubbish, that. So it'd be great if it does come with it. So they're definitely being, like you said, Lena, definitely being a bit more innovative, PS5, in terms of their hardware. And actually, just one more point about the PS5 is they're doing, obviously, the normal disc drive edition. They're doing the digital edition as well, which is completely discless, which definitely signifies that they want to now start to change, that we want to move consoles into more the streaming era. They want to get rid of discs, and they want to start, you pay online for faster load times, and basically actually Sony will make more money off doing that, because when you go and buy a disc, they have to send some of that money to the stores they take off. If you buy a physical version, they're getting the money direct as well. Mostly, of course, some of that will go to the publisher, of course, but it kind of cuts their revenue. The revenue sort of stream is streamlined to them, so that will help them. Whether that's, I probably will get the disc one, because if most PS4 games are going to be backwards compatible PS5, then I need the disc one. So maybe they didn't quite think about that. But it also signifies that could the PS5 disc version be significantly more expensive than the digital version? Is the digital version going to be cheaper to get? I don't know what's going to happen on that front.
I think with regards to discs, I think I'm not ready to get rid of discs. I think just because it closes off that route to just using normal games that you put into your console. It's still the quite traditional way. And plus, I imagine, so like with the Xbox One, obviously you can put games in it, and plus you can go onto the store and download games from that. So it's not like you're cutting off the ability to download games without having to buy the disc. Xbox did that before with their Xbox One S.
Oh yeah, the S, yeah.
Where they closed off the disc. So it was more about storing games on there rather than buying new ones. So in a way, they've done it before, and I imagine they didn't want to. They just wanted to keep it simple, which is basically the whole thing about Xbox Series X. They're just keeping it simple. It's a big black box. You put a game in it and you play, which I think works quite well.
I mean, I tend to do nowadays with my. I mean, it's interesting. I used to be an Xbox gamer, but now I'm definitely more PlayStation, just because there are more games now and they don't appeal to me. I mean, I tend to do a mix now. I tend to get some on disc, some digital, but I can definitely see in 5 years' time they may say, oh, sorry, we're not saying this anymore. You're going to have to get it digitally because look how you watch TV and movies now. You don't have to buy the disc to get it. It's so convenient now to just do it digitally. But then how's that going to work with people? They're going to have to make that work for everyone that's got a load of discs. Well, are you going to be able to convert that? Are they going to give you the digital version for free to make that? I don't know. I mean, that's quite a long down on the line. Let's just do, to sort of start rounding off, price points for these consoles.
I think that I saw some meme saying like what PlayStation 5 says when you ask them how much their console's going to cost, and it was some guy laughing and running away as if he's not going to say it. So they haven't announced the price for PS5, right?
No, they haven't. Not for either of them, and I feel like.
But I imagine it's going to be. Someone said so. I think Xbox is going to cost around 500.
Yeah, it's all sort of, there were like Amazon leaks in quotes, but they would not be true. There's always leaks, but you can't really trust them. I can imagine they're going to be in the 400, 450 range. I don't think they will go over 500. I think that's a bit too much to ask people. I really do.
Have you heard about the time the PS3 tried that?
Oh yeah, wasn't that like it didn't last for long? Wasn't it like 600 quid or something like that on launch?
Their launch? Yeah, it was 600, and that's why Xbox 360 just wiped the slate clean with them.
Yeah, and maybe this is the thing with Xbox Series X. Maybe this is why they're being a bit more coy, because obviously they've got the smart delivery, the quick resume, this promised sort of forwards and backs compatibility. The Series X, I've said I'm not quite sure about that going back to one that's going to be business sense. Maybe where they could get the players is they're going to be cheaper than the PS5. I don't know, but then I kind of doubt that because technically, their technical specs, they're virtually identical. I believe apparently the Series X is apparently it's got slightly more horsepower than the PS5. I believe I think they're pretty comparable to the the normal gamers like us three. We're not going to notice a difference. So I can't, if a Series X, if one of them was going to be cheaper than the other, I can't really imagine them being £100 cheaper than the other. I think maybe one could be £50 cheaper. I don't think any more than that.
Well, there was a console that was cheaper in the last generation and had backwards compatibility.
And which was?
The Wii U again.
Oh, the Wii U.
What's it with you and the Wii U?
Yeah, but that's the thing. But then it's true. It's actually interesting with the Wii U. It's okay. They had the cheaper price, the compatibility, and this and that, but they didn't have the games for it. And this is the concern with the Series X. Obviously, they're going to have the third-party games, but PlayStation have that as well. Can they really just only rely on Halo and Gears of War to be their big system sellers? Especially Halo Infinite has got a job on its hands now to really sort of solidify the fan base again. I mean, Gears 5 was very good, so that's pretty safe. But then, PlayStation, you've got so many now, and you've got so many. Look at the launch show. They showed so many new IPs coming. Okay, maybe all of them probably won't be successful. You can't say it for all of them. But, they've got Spider-Man, they've got Horizon, they've got God of War, they've got, Uncharted, they've got Ratchet and Clank. They've got, the new ones coming, like Godfall and Kenna Bridge of Spirits. That looked like a really charming little game. Deathloop. Even Destruction All-Stars, I thought, looked like a really fun driving game. So that's an interesting comparison with the Wii. So my guess for these consoles, I'm going to say for the Xbox Series X, I'm going to say 450, and I'm going to say the same. I'm going to say around the same for PS5. And then the discless version, the digital version, that might be 400, 399. I don't know. So I'm saying for the main two, I'm saying 450 is my guess.
Speaking of IPs, it would be hilarious. Let's say Series X is the last Xbox console. For the PS6, if we saw a Halo game.
Oh,
because it would happen. It's kind of like why we see Sonic on Nintendo games, because there aren't any Sega consoles anymore. 25 years ago, Sonic on Nintendo would have been unthinkable.
Yeah, I think you're right, Aram. Absolutely. That if they don't get it right with Series X, because the one performs significantly worse than the PS4, whether you're hinged on it or not. And at the end of the day, companies are looking at performance. You know, at the end of the day, they don't care about if they've got a fan base that think it's better than the other or not. It's the money that does talking for them. So if the Series X doesn't sell well and is significantly fooled by PS5, I think you could be right, Aram, that this may be the last one if they don't get it right. But who knows? By July, if they're doing this big gameplay showcase, our opinions change. But what's your prediction, Aram, for the price point for these games? Give me a price.
I'd say the same. It's not going to go above 500, I don't think. But I don't think it's going to go below 300.
No.
Well, so Xbox hasn't announced what their price is.
No, neither of them.
No, neither of them. So I mean, this is the weird thing, because I'd automatically assume, if I look at both the consoles, I think PlayStation 5 looks more expensive. It's got more materials and more combinations on it, and the graphics are amazing. So I think it's more expensive. But then there's always this slight thing in the back of my head where it's going to be the Xbox. You're going to be paying for a very, very simplistic design. So you think, oh, it's going to be quite cheap. They haven't used loads of weird materials. But then you might think it's got something weird in it that's really expensive, so they're going to have to charge you more for it. So it's very hard to predict. I'd probably say for the discless version of PS5, about probably 450, something like that. And then for the disc version, maybe 480, something like that. And then the Xbox might be around the 460 mark, something like that.
Very precise numbers, Lino. I'm liking this.
I'm just trying to pin certain things, because I think the Xbox Series X might sort of be slap bang in the middle of the discless and the disc version in terms of pricing. And actually I'm not sure if this is actually a thing, but I think it might have just been someone making something where there might be a Xbox Series X S. So it's smaller, it's white.
No, there is a rumor, that they're making this. I don't know if this has been confirmed, deconfirmed, but there was rumor that there's going to be an equivalent to the One S, like a Series S, and then it's like a cheaper one. But there's also apparently going to be an even more powerful version of the Series X. There's going to be your middle, your base version, and your upper end. That could distort the price range.
That's crazy, because not even Capcom does stuff like that. Not even Capcom with their games does stuff like, releasing the even bigger, better version.
Well, most games do it. Usually there's 3 versions. You get your standard, your digital edition, and you get your ultimate edition now.
Yeah. I was about to say, even Capcom at least wait a year or two.
Yeah.
If they're going in with, that's mental.
Yeah, that might not happen. I doubt they'll do 3 versions at launch. There might be a cheaper model. They might do similar to PS5. They might do a discless version, like a Series S, at launch. But I can't see them doing an even more powerful version of the Series X at launch.
So we've gone through, as much as we can. Obviously, there's loads of more specifics about the technical aspects. So after this discussion, which one are you more likely to buy? I don't think it's changed for any of us.
No, I definitely the PS5. I mean, the games they've got on show really impressed me. The only way Series X will get my money at launch is if they announce a new Batman Arkham game, and for some reason that's an Xbox exclusive, which I don't think it will be, because it hasn't had the track record of that. Maybe when the Xbox, if it turns out to be significantly more powerful, the PS5, I think it is going to have a little bit more horsepower than the PS5. If it turns out to be significantly more powerful, maybe a year and a half after, when the prices come down. But PS5, I think, especially with, Spider-Man Miles Morales, that's pretty much, I think, got my money at launch. So yeah, PS5 for now.
I figured out a way that, I think this is the only way that the PlayStation could really be overthrown. And that is to have a way better, digital console. Let's say Valve created, a Steam console. That's the only thing that could topple it. I'll tell you why as well. Because that's why the PlayStation beat out Nintendo, because they had like CDs, which were new at the time. Nintendo were just using cartridges. Originally, Nintendo wanted Sony to build a CD-based console with them, but then they turned them down and picked Philips instead, so Sony built the PlayStation, and guess what Philips built?
The Philips CDI.
Yes.
Great console.
With some brilliant Zelda games.
Oh, they were fantastic. Well, thankfully on Nintendo Switch, if you want to play a good Zelda game, there's a really good one on there. But Aaron, which one are you more excited for?
PS5.
PS5? Yeah, PS5.
I definitely think appearance is it's like whenever you're dating, it's like looks versus personality. Looks are very, very important.
Yeah.
And it's like the PS5 is just such a wow factor. I do think it's going to be cool when it's that big. It's going to be like, wow, that's awesome. When you walk into someone's living room. There was this small little thing of like, I was thinking about cooling and temperature. Like if you're playing for a while, how hot's it going to get? Obviously they all have fans to keep them cool. But if you think about it, the Xbox Series X, because it's just a box, it doesn't really have to, I think it's going to be able to vent heat a lot easier, whereas the PS5 has to merge like all of the pieces in the right places because it's weird. It's a sort of a confusing shape. They have to manage how much heat is going to be put out. But no, I definitely say PS5 still for me, unless Xbox does something amazing.
Yeah, I think a smart delivery, that feature, which is very good, pro consumer, very good, but is that really going to be enough to sell a console? You know, that thing of you get the version, the optimized version for free, when immediately after the guy said, well, they may choose to make a game that's specifically designed for Series X. So it's a great feature, don't get me wrong. They've got some good features that PS5 may not have. But just in regards to the heating thing, it's a good point you make. I mean, Microsoft has always had the better track record with cooling, with the Xboxes, and noise. They've always been very quiet, the Xboxes, and I'm sure they'll do the same with that. The PS4, certain games, for example, if I play Red Dead Redemption 2 or Star Wars Battlefront 2, you start going like that. It's really loud. It starts getting loud and hot. So they're going to have to improve that with PS5.
It's the same with both consoles actually. Like my Xbox One is pretty quiet most of the time, and then occasionally when you ask a lot of it, like it's, I don't know, you switch, you're in the middle of a game and then you switch to some other app. The fan will randomly turn on for like 10 seconds. It's not even that bad.
Yeah. The PS4 was worse. It was pretty good with the Xbox One, but PS5, hopefully, I don't think there's any excuse now for them to not get that right. So that will have to be something they address.
Because it's upright and there's less of it on the floor, it should be able to vent easier. And they've got these two big white panel things that are so hopefully it should be fixed.
Yeah, definitely. Well,
yeah.
I think we'll wrap it up there. Hope you guys listening have enjoyed that. Hopefully leave us some of your thoughts in the comments. We can have an interesting little chat about it. We're sorry for any Xbox loyal fans if we've offended you. All three of us do actually have an Xbox One as well. We do like it. You know, we're just basing this on kind of what we've seen so far. Who knows? Xbox Series X may come up with a feature and we go, wow, that's amazing. They're coming out holiday 2020. They still haven't given a date. There's still loads of time for them they're going to be announcing loads of new things. So it's still early days for these two consoles. So we'll see. But thank you, Aram. Thank you, Lino, for joining me. Fun little chat as always. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Au revoir.
See you next time.
Au revoir.